Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're getting into a real classic, one that I think resonates with so many people, Anne of Green Gables. We've gathered some really rich sources that focus on those incredibly charming early chapters and Shirley's arrival, those first few years at the Cuthbert farm.
It's such a formative time for her, isn't it?
Yeah.
Full of moments that are, both really moving and just laugh out loud funny sometimes.
Exactly. So our mission today really is to unpack that magic, those lessons from her early experiences.
Yeah, how she kind of finds her way.
Absolutely. How her incredible imagination, her friendships, even her messes, really, how they didn't just shape her, but changed everyone around her, especially Marilla, who was so practical.
Look, definitely. The contrast is fantastic.
Right. So let's jump into this deep dive.
Okay.
Now, the story doesn't kick off with Anne, interestingly enough. It starts with Mrs. Rachel Lynde, Avonlea's, let's call her the eyes and ears of the town.
Yes. The unofficial town crier.
Pretty much. And she spots something really odd. Matthew Cuthbert, who's famously shy, all dressed up and heading out in his buggy. Not exactly turnip sowing time. What was going on?
Well, that's the core of it, isn't it? The expectation versus what actually happens. Matthew and Marilla, living out at Green Gables, they'd specifically asked Mrs. Spencer to bring them a boy from the orphanage.
Right, a boy, about 10 or 11.
Exactly. Smart, likely. Someone who could help with the farm chores.
Yeah.
They had a very clear, very practical plan. A Canadian-born boy, specifically.
But that's not who Matthew found waiting at Bright River Station, was it?
Not even close.
Describe this girl for us. What did he see?
Well, instead of a sturdy boy, he finds this small, thin girl, around 11. And the description, it's quite something. A very short, tight, kind of ugly yellowish gray dress, a faded sailor hat, and these two really thick braids of very, very red hair. Her face is described as small, white, thin, lots of freckles, big mouth, expressive eyes, green or gray, depending on the light.
So maybe not what they ordered, appearance-wise.
Not immediately, perhaps. But the sources stress that, a keen observer would see past that. They'd see the pointed chin, the spirited eyes, that broad forehead, signs of no commonplace soul.
And her personality just bursts out immediately, right? Despite maybe feeling awkward or out of place?
Oh, absolutely. She kind of takes charge of the conversation straight away, tells Matthew she has all her worldly goods in this shabby old carpet bag.
Just like that.
Just like that. And she mentioned she'd actually thought about sleeping in a wild cherry tree if he hadn't shown up. She's also really candid about the orphanage, saying it had little scope for imagination.
Wow, that tells you so much about her right from the start. Little scope for imagination.
Exactly. It sets the stage perfectly.
And this imagination, it just takes over on the ride to Green Gables, doesn't it? How does she see the world around her?
It's incredible. Just on that buggy ride, she sees a wild plum tree, all white and flowering, and instantly calls it a bride, all in white. Yes. And she starts talking about longing for pretty clothes, imagining herself in silk dresses with flowers. And Matthew, this incredibly quiet, shy man,
Yeah.
he actually kind of liked her chatter. Tells her to talk as much as you like. He isn't bothered by her big words, which she uses for her big ideas.
That's quite something for Matthew Cuthbert. He must have been charmed in his own quiet way.
I think he really was. She just sort of drew him in.
And this imaginative streak, it extends right to Green Gables itself. She starts renaming things almost immediately.
Instantly. That avenue of apple trees becomes the white way of delight. She says it's wonderful, the first thing she ever saw that couldn't be improved upon by imagination.
High praise from Anne.
Indeed. And Barry's Pond. That becomes the lake of shining waters. She talks about this thrill she gets when a name fits perfectly.
Which Matthew compares to seeing grubs.
Yes, Matthew compares it to seeing ugly white grubs. It's such a funny practical contrast. But when she sees Green Gables, she just knows it's home. Pinches herself, whispers about the trees, talking in their sleep.
She's making it her own place right from the beginning.
Exactly, infusing it with her own magic.
Okay, so this magical, talkative, imaginative girl arrives. Meanwhile, Marilla's back home, still waiting for the farm boy. How does she take this development?
Well, shocked is probably putting it mildly.
Yeah.
Her first reaction is just sheer amazement at this odd little figure.
And then?
And then the practical side kicks in immediately. A girl? Of no use to them. That's her first thought. Purely about the farm work.
Oh, poor Anne. How did she react to that?
It hit her hard. In that moment of rejection, she just completely lost her appetite. Total despair.
And then comes the whole name thing. Anne trying to be Cordelia.
Or at least Anne spelled with an E.
Right. Which just perfectly shows that clash, doesn't it? Anne's romanticism versus Marilla's. Well, Marilla's Marilla-ness.
Unromantic fiddlesticks. It's Marilla's verdict. She declares Anne is a real good, plain, sensible name.
It really sets the tone for their early dynamic.
It absolutely does. Marilla, she's described as having narrow experience and rigid conscience. Anne's world is just baffling to her at first. A bit alarming, maybe.
Like the prayer incident.
Exactly. Marilla's horrified and never say any prayers, but then Anne can rattle off some, theological definitions she learned. It's that contrast again, rules versus imagination, head versus heart.
So Marilla decides she needs bringing up, which sounds like it was, well, a process, any early class.
Oh, definitely. Marilla observes Anne is actually smart and obedient, willing to work, quick to learn, but...
There's always a but with Anne, isn't there?
Seems like it. Her most serious shortcoming, according to Marilla, was this tendency to just drift off into daydreams, right in the middle of a task, forgetting all about it.
The lack of scope for imagination applies to chores, too, I guess.
Apparently so. Her inner world was just much more interesting.
And this comes the big one. The showdown with Mrs. Rachel Lynde. That wasn't just Anne being dreamy, that was fire.
Oh, that was pure fire. Mrs. Rachel, being Mrs. Rachel, takes one look and calls Anne ugly and redheaded, just like that. Brutal.
In Anne.
Anne explodes, calls Mrs. Rachel fat, spiteful, ill-natured. She really let her have it, which led to this huge standoff.
Because Anne wouldn't apologize.
Refused, point blank. I'm not sorry, she says. I can't even imagine I'm sorry. That line is so perfectly Anne. Her pride, her feelings, they were just non-negotiable.
So how did that get resolved?
Matthew stepped in, quietly, gently coaxed her. He understood her, you see. Knew she was one of the sort you could do anything with if you only get her to love you.
Matthew, the Anne whisperer.
Sort of, yeah. And even Mrs. Lynde, after the apology happened, had to admit there was something kind of taking about her.
High praise from Rachel Lynde. But Anne's imagination didn't just get her into verbal fights. It led to, well, more creative problems, like the missing brooch.
Oh, the amethyst brooch, yes. A classic Anne story. Marilla's prized brooch goes missing. She suspects Anne.
Did Anne take it?
Initially, she denies it, vehemently. But Marilla presses her, convinced she's lying, and crucially, threatens to keep her from going to this picnic she's desperate to attend.
Okay, motivation established.
Exactly. So Anne, thinking a confession is the only way to get to the picnic, concocts this incredibly elaborate story.
Not just I took it.
Oh, no. Much more interesting, as Anne would say. She claims she was pretending to be Lady Cordelia Fitzgerald down by the brook at her imaginary playhouse Idlewild wearing the brooch.
Oh, boy.
And it slipped off her dress and fell into the lake of shining waters. It's pure theater. All a lie, of course, just to secure her spot at the picnic.
Which Matthew wanted her to go to.
Right. Matthew's quiet sympathy is there again. And then the punchline. Marilla finds the brooch later, caught in her own shawl.
Oh, Marilla, so Anne didn't take it at all.
Nope. It just shows Anne's dramatic flair, her desperation for fun and acceptance, and maybe, how her imagination could run away with her under pressure.
And did she get to the picnic?
She did. And it was, in her words, scrumptious. Boat ride on the Lake of Shining Waters, her first taste of ice cream, which she called sublime. Worth the drama, maybe.
Maybe. These early years sound like just one charming disaster after another. Her imagination was a gift, but wow, did it clash with Avonlea reality sometimes.
It really did. You have the cake incident, baking for the new minister and his wife, Mrs. Allen. Important guests.
What happened? Vanilla issues.
Worse, she used anodyne liniment instead of vanilla. Accidentally, of course.
Liniment? Oh, no.
Yes, she apparently dissolved into tears under this double disgrace. And then there was another time she served pudding sauce with a drowned mouse in it.
Oh, and these aren't just little slip-ups, are they?
No, they're kind of epic. They really show that constant tension, her rich inner life bumping up against very practical, everyday expectations. It's funny for us, but you can see her learning the hard way.
And her friendships weren't immune to this dramatic flair either. The drunken Diana incident is legendary.
It really is. Poor Diana. And, trying to be a good hostess, gives her what she thinks is raspberry cordial.
But it wasn't.
It was Marilla's homemade currant wine. And Diana gets simply dead drunk.
Oh my goodness. Mrs. Barry must have been furious.
Furious is an understatement. She forbids Diana from ever playing with Anne again, which is just devastating for Anne. Terrible. She feels like the stars in their courses fight against me.
Oh, dramatic.
Completely. Their farewell scene is pure melodrama. Swapping locks of hair, using thou and thee. It's very affecting, as the source puts it. It shows how deeply she felt everything, especially friendship.
And her imagination caused problems even when she was alone, right? The haunted wood.
Ah, yes, the haunted wood. She'd spun such tales about it in her mind that she became genuinely terrified to walk through it alone at night.
Creating her own monsters.
Pretty much. That and other things, like daring herself to walk the ridgepole of Mr. Barry's roof.
Oh, I remember this. Didn't end well.
Broke her ankle, which led her to conclude rather ruefully that it was no use trying to be romantic in Avonlea.
Huh. And then the hair dye incident.
The infamous green hair. Bought dye from a peddler. Guaranteed. Raven black. It turned her bright red hair a ghastly green. Marilla had no choice but to cut it all off, shingle it short. Anne saw it as a just punishment for her vanity.
These scrapes are hilarious, but they also show her learning, right? Slowly figuring out how to navigate the world.
Absolutely. And amidst all this chaos, really deep bonds were forming. That friendship with Diana was so crucial.
More than just the drama.
Much more. They had their solemn vows, their imaginary world, Idlewild, Dryad's Bubble, Willowmere. It was this vital space for Anne's imagination to flourish safely.
And it became more than play, too, didn't it, with Minnie May?
Yes, that was a turning point. Diana's little sister gets croup really bad, and Anne, remembering something she learned, knows exactly what to do with Ipecac. She saves Minnie May's life.
Wow.
And Mrs. Beery, seeing this practical, capable side of Anne, has to apologize and lifts the ban on the friendship. It proved Anne wasn't just imagination and trouble. She had substance, loyalty.
Okay, so friendship is blossoming. What about school? That brought new dynamics. Mr. Phillips, the teacher.
Yeah, Mr. Phillips wasn't exactly a great fit for Anne, or maybe for anyone, really. Lacked imagination, very strict. He really singled Anne out sometimes.
How so?
Well, famously, he shamed her publicly for her spelling, called it disgraceful, and then, as punishment for being late once, he made her sit next to
Gilbert Blythe.
Gilbert Blythe, which sparked quite the reaction.
Tell us about Gilbert. What was the deal there?
Gilbert was kind of the golden boy. Handsome, smart, witty, popular, top of the class.
And he made the mistake of noticing Anne's hair.
Big mistake. He teased her, called her carrots in front of everyone. And Anne. Well, Anne declared she would never forgive him, and she meant it.
So that's how the great rivalry began.
That's exactly how. It wasn't just hurt feelings. It lit a fire under her academically. She became inflexibly determined to beat him in class.
So the rivalry actually pushed her.
Massively. She poured everything into her studies, even geometry, which she hated because it had no scope for imagination. The drive to beat Gilbert was that strong.
It's funny how something negative can become such a motivator.
Isn't it? They were constantly competing. The sources say Anne would not stoop to admit that she meant to rival Gilbert. But the top marks in spelling, arithmetic, they fluctuated between them. They definitely pushed each other.
But it wasn't all rivalry and difficult teachers. Miss Stacy arrived eventually.
Ah, Miss Stacy. She was a breath of fresh air, a kindred spirit for Anne.
How was she different?
She actually encouraged imagination, critical thinking, allowed students to go off the beaten paths. She fostered a real love of learning, not just memorization.
That must have been huge for Anne.
It was transformative. Miss Stacy organized a school concert, for instance, to raise money for a flag, and threw herself into it, practicing dramatic groans for her recitation piece.
Which Marilla must have loved.
Oh, Marilla was exasperated. But Miss Stacy saw Anne's potential and really nurtured it.
And through all of this, Matthew is still there, quietly supporting her.
Always. He's such a lovely presence. He noticed, for example, that Anne's dresses were very plain compared to the other girls, especially the lack of fashionable puffed sleeves, which Anne secretly longed for.
And he couldn't just ask Marilla to fix it.
Apparently not. Too awkward. So he tried to buy a dress himself, which must have been quite an ordeal for shy Matthew.
I can only imagine.
Eventually, he had to get Mrs. Lynde to help him. But the result was this beautiful brown dress with the puffed sleeves for Christmas.
Anne must have been thrilled.
Ecstatic. It showed how much Matthew understood her, even without words. He was so proud of her, too. He even said prophetically that she'd need something more than Avonlea School by and by.
He saw her potential. Which leads us to Queen's Academy. Her ambitions were growing.
Definitely. Miss Stacy started a special class for the students aiming for the Queen's entrance exam. Anne, Gilbert, several others. This became Anne's absolute dream.
And Matthew and Marilla were on board.
Fully. They were committed to giving her a good education. Marilla even said a girl should be fitted to earn her own living. Quite progressive, really. A big shift from a girl is no use to us.
That really shows how much Anne had changed them. But going to Queens meant leaving someone important behind?
Yes, her best friend, Diana. Diana's parents weren't sending her to Queens, so she stayed in Avonlea. It was a huge wrench for Anne. She felt the bitterness of death, apparently.
Though she hid her tears from Gilbert, the sources say.
She did. That rivalry was still strong. It's interesting, too, seeing the different ambitions in that Queen's class. Ruby wanting to marry, Jane focused on teaching, Moody Spurgeon on ministry. Different paths opening up.
And the rivalry with Gilbert. Did it cool down at Queens?
If anything, it heated up. The competition was fierce in that more advanced setting. Anne was absolutely set on beating him. The monthly exams were apparently terrible with suspense.
Hey, who came out on top in the end?
Well, Gilbert won the medal, the bronze medal. Big deal. But Anne won the Avery Scholarship.
The Avery, which meant
funding for 4 years at Redmond College. $250 a year, a huge achievement. Matthew and Marilla were just bursting with pride. Pleased, as the source quaintly puts it.
amazing. But her time away in Charlottetown wasn't all academic triumph, was it? She missed home.
Deeply. She felt really homesick, longed for her white room at Green Gables. The quiet, the outdoors, the sound of the brook. The city felt wrong to her. The hard street, the telephone wires.
Even with concerts and late-night ice cream.
Even with those. She enjoyed the novelty, the glittering vision, but ultimately decided she wasn't born for city life. She preferred knowing the stars were shining outside her gable window. It also made her realize that things you desperately want as a child, like sleeping in the spare room, aren't always so amazing once you get them. Perspective.
That's real growth. But just as she reaches this peak, this triumph, tragedy strikes.
Yes. Right after the joy of the scholarship win comes devastating news. Matthew died. A heart attack.
Oh, Matthew, her quiet champion.
Exactly. He'd been so incredibly proud of her Avery win. Anne's grief, initially, was this horrible, dull ache. No tears. Just shock.
Until Marilla.
Yes, Marilla, in her own way, helped her release it, prompted her to cry, to grieve properly.
And in that shared grief, Marilla opens up in a way she never really had before, right?
It's an incredibly moving moment. Marilla finally tells Anne how much she loves her. As dear as if you were my own flesh and blood, admits, Anne has been her joy and comfort.
Wow.
And she confesses how hard it is for her to say things out of my heart. It just deepens their bond immensely, showing Anne how much she truly belonged.
But that moment of connection is followed almost immediately by more bad news for Marilla.
Yes, devastating news. Marilla sees an oculist and finds out her eyesight is failing rapidly. She's facing blindness if she keeps straining her eyes with reading, sewing, things that basically are her life. She feels like her life is over.
What a blow, on top of losing Matthew.
A terrible blow.
And Anne has this scholarship, this future planned at Redmond. What does she do?
She makes an extraordinary decision. Without hesitation, really. She decides to give up the Avery Scholarship, gives up Redmond College.
Just like that.
Just like that. She tells Marilla, I'm not going to Redmond, I'll be with you. Her plan is to stay home, teach nearby, maybe Avonlea School, though Gilbert had been promised it, or Carmody and commute, look after Marilla, keep Green Gables going. It's incredibly selfless.
Wow. That's a huge sacrifice. Trading her dream for duty, for love, really.
Absolutely. A real bend in the road, as she later calls it.
And speaking of roads converging, there's one final significant encounter around this time.
Yes. Anne meets Gilbert Blythe again on Barry's Hill, the old stomping ground.
And the rivalry continues.
No. After 5 long years of competition and that initial fierce animosity, they finally talk. Properly. They decide it will be much more sensible to be good friends in the future.
Sensible. Is that romantic or what?
Yeah. Maybe not overtly, but it's huge for them.
Yeah.
Anne reflects they have 5 years lost conversations to catch up with. It's the end of the war, the beginning of something else.
A truce, at least? Maybe more. So looking back at this whole period, her arrival, the scrapes, Queens, this decision, what's the takeaway about Anne's growth?
I think it's profound. She learns to accept limitations, embraces duty and responsibility, but crucially, without losing herself. She doesn't give up her imagination or her spirit.
Just finds a different path.
Exactly. She realizes her horizons might have closed in for now, but she believes flowers of quiet happiness will bloom along this new path. She finds value in sincere work and worthy aspiration and congenial friendship, and she knows her birthright of fancy, her inner world that's always hers.
Even Mrs. Lind noticed the change.
Even Mrs. Lind. She remarks how Anne has turned out so well despite everything and still has that kind of taking quality that makes other people seem common beside her. Anne has truly come into her own.
What an incredible arc from this, impulsive, imaginative, sometimes disastrous orphan to this resourceful, loving, really grounded young woman, still full of spirit, but tempered by experience and empathy.
It's a beautiful transformation. And Anne's story, especially these early years, it really reminds us, doesn't it, that life rarely goes exactly according to plan. Those unexpected turns, those bends in the road, often that's where we find our real strength.
Our purpose.
Our purpose, yeah. And what belonging truly means.
So maybe a final thought for you listening. Think about the bends in the road in your own life. Those times things didn't go as planned. What did those detours teach you about yourself? About your own strengths, maybe? Or even just about what home really feels like?
And how has imagination, maybe not Anne level renaming everything, but your own creativity or perspective, helped you navigate those unexpected turns? Something to think about.